It's done.
Connor McDavid! It's not real!
The goal of the year?
Panarin!
Part of the past. The celebrations? Forgotten. The history?
Vegas Golden Knights!
History. We're back to a blank slate. Clean ice. All that matters now is what happens next. The Stanley Cup playoffs.
Eastern Conference Final begins Wednesday.
The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
I've been workshopping something all day that it's always something I've wanted to do. Possibly as on-air content, something maybe just for fun, maybe just a website thing. I've always wanted to do a top 100 list. I love a good countdown. 10, 5, 25, 50, 100. I like the challenge of putting together a top 100 countdown. So just been kind of getting some interest on, what if I did like a top 100 TV theme songs of all time or something?
I would think that'd be pretty fun.
Would that be fun?
I think it would be fun. Yeah. I don't know if you could come up with 100.
I definitely could.
Well, that's true. I kind of underestimated how great you are at TV.
I do love TV. Welcome to The Game. Mitch Fortner and AJ Shaw. We have one more week without Troy Coverdale, so enjoy the vacation while it lasts, AJ. He'll be back. Well, Monday's Memorial Day, so I guess Tuesday would be his first show back, so a week from tomorrow. So tomorrow morning we will have coverage of K-State baseball. They have the first game of the Big 12 tournament in Arlington, Texas, Globe Life Field. K-State KU, the 6-7 matchup. K-State will be the home team. They are the 6 seed. KU the 7 with a 9 a.m. first pitch. That means pregame 8:30 tomorrow morning. And if they win, we don't know exactly what time they would play just yet. But if they do lose, they'll be playing at 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Early breakfast tomorrow for both teams.
It's a weird format. And I understand, like, they're going now with 10 teams instead of 9. But it's like, it's interesting because, so K-State is a 6-7 matchup. They will for sure play tomorrow. But the second game of the day is the 4 versus the 9 in West Virginia and TCU. The winner of that game will get a bye. And then they won't play tomorrow, but they'll play again Thursday. So it's like 1 through 4 seeds have a chance to get a bye, which Oklahoma and Oklahoma State do, but West Virginia and Texas will have to earn their bye.
Yep.
But that bye would come after, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State.
It's a really screwy bracket.
And it's just for 1 year. Like, it is, like, it feels like it doesn't make sense. Maybe there's a better way of doing it.
Yeah.
But it's only for 1 year. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to add, is it 4 more? I think they all have baseball programs. Maybe
Arizona State does. Arizona does.
For sure. In case they played Arizona State earlier
Colorado,
this year.
I believe, has one. I don't really follow Pac-12 baseball that much.
But anyway, the conference is going to grow. The only team without one still is Iowa State. Mm-hmm. And then you have 3 programs that are not in the Big 12 tournament. You know who they are?
UCF's one of them.
No, they're in it.
Oh, they're in it?
Seed. Yeah, Baylor, Houston, and BYU. I want to dig into baseball here, but before we get to that, I do want to mention what's coming up on today's show. Hour number 2, the former host of this show, the former sports director of News Radio KMAN, the former host of Power Cat Game Day, John Kurtz will join us at 5:10 because I needed a nerd, to be honest with you. Needed somebody that really pays attention to what's happening off the field. He's got a great YouTube channel, and there's a little thing that maybe he decided this week, potentially, and it's called the House versus the NCAA. And that decision could be coming this week. So we need to get more information on what's going on because this could certainly change the governing landscape of college athletics and how we see it forever.
Also, our politics nerd's not here.
Yeah, Troy would definitely know what's going on. And I'll be honest, I have not been following this every day or in the last few months. I'm kind of lost. I need to get up to date myself. So John would be the perfect time to bring John on, catch up with him, what's going on in his life, and get his expertise on the topic. Later on in this hour, we will speak with Brian Smoller, a former host of this show, a former sports director of News Radio KMAN. He was not on PowerCat Game Day, but he used to be a big deal here at K-Man. Now he's, of course, a big deal with K-State Athletics. So we're going to talk to him at 425 about K-State's chances in NCAA tournament hopes. Plus, of course, hour number 2, we're bringing back now the new popular game on the show, Stump the Shaw. Now, again, it's just AJ versus the questions. We're still workshopping this, but sooner or later, we are going to start bringing in contestants to battle against AJ on who can beat him out in some sports trivia.
You know, I need to redeem myself this week.
Stop. You were just fine last week. I made it really tough last week, and you got like a. I mean, if it was grade or if it was just like regular school, high school, you probably got a D-. But in sports trivia, where it is super hard, where I'm sure most people listening maybe got a couple of questions right, you did very well. So that's why we have the game. It's because you do fine.
You know, I'm my own harshest critic, Mitch. That's just how I am.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
That's not a bad. Honestly, that shows you care.
Yeah.
That I'm my worst critic. I think I have a terrible voice. I think I do a bad job at the show.
True.
My play-by-play is just rubbish.
Rubbish.
And
it's a pretty good word to use there, but I wouldn't say your voice is bad.
Garbaggio. All right, let's get to the Batcats because college baseball is crazy. It is crazy how you can win a series, you win 2 out of 3, and the loss does more to your resume than the 2 wins. I have a lot of thoughts on this BYU series that took place Thursday, Friday, Saturday at Twitton Family Stadium, and that wrapped up the regular season. K-State needed the sweep. If they get the sweep, K-State, I think, is absolutely for sure in the field. Their RPI would still be in the top 30, or I should say top 35, most likely. But still just playing the games, it's just like you kind of take a hit because BYU was in like the 120s or something like that. So resume, you couldn't really gain a whole lot out of it. And that's just the pain of the game of college baseball. And when you play some bad teams, it's going to probably do more, wrong than good that you want to happen for your resume. Cats lost that Saturday game in just heartbreaking fashion because K-State was like a strike away from winning the game, and J.J. Slack, unfortunately gives up 3 runs. And BYU takes a 1-run lead. Brady Day with a bottom of the 9th solo home run to lead off was huge. Unfortunately, K-State could not score the winning run. Then a grand slam by BYU was the deciding factor, of course, and that won the game for them 12-8 after K-State won on Thursday and Friday. And I want to get to that because I saw Pete Hughes took some heat for possibly leaving J.J. Slack in the game for too long. And I actually shouldn't say J.J. Slack gave up the runs there that ended up tying the game, and then BYU took the lead in the 9th inning. That was actually charged to Blake Dean, but also they were all unearned. So errors were led to that comeback for BYU, and they executed as a team that had nothing to lose. So J.J. Slack does give up the grand slam. Those were all earned runs. And I had the same feeling. But after I took a minute and just kind of surveyed, I think this was really just a strategic move because let's remember, I say strategic because you're thinking about Tuesday, you're thinking about postseason play and who you're going to have available because K-State is not very deep when it comes to pitchers, and certainly out of the bullpen. You're limited. And a lot of these guys, of course, pitched this weekend. J.J. Slack pitched on Friday and was phenomenal. 2 innings, 27 pitches, dominated. And JJ has been really good this year. He wears 99. He's like Ricky Vaughn out there. He does the whole facing towards center field, punches the glove, and ferociously turns around and just focuses in on the batter.
He does the Al Raboski, as Matt Walters likes to say.
To me, it's more Ricky Vaughn.
Yeah.
Except he's just not wearing the glasses, but he's wearing 99. Mm-hmm. So that's where I get Ricky Wild Thing Vaughn.
Just a bit outside.
But I think this weekend we saw just two microcosms of what K-State baseball has been in this last month and a half. And I'm sorry, but I just have to use J.J. Slack as the example. K-State pitching was really good this weekend. Really good. The only problem is J.J. just kind of ran into some inconsistency. Unfortunately, that's what K-State pitching has been this year. Mm-hmm. Just about darn near everybody that's appeared this year has at one point or another looked really good.
But what also hurt was you had to use Tyson Neighbors so much in the first two games that he was unavailable for the Saturday game.
Well, and that's okay because he was nails and they needed him. They needed him to come in. He shut that down. Well, he gave up the solo home run on Thursday, which was really unfortunate because, again, K-State out away from finishing that game off. It ends up going to extras, and we played 3 more innings. And Tyson did everything right but that one pitch and then just slammed the door, redeemed himself on Friday night, and gets the save. Gets, unfortunately, the blown save on Thursday, but J.J. Slack is a microcosm of K-State pitching this year. I mean, the Batcats had 3.77 ERA when it comes to earned runs, and he was great on Thursday. But Saturday just struggled with the strike zone.
Yep.
That was just kind of the argument there about bringing Tyrell in. First of all, they had to see where Ty was at because, again, he's just been battling with injuries.
Yep.
But you're also thinking about Tuesday because you're playing the early game and Owen hasn't had his full length of recovery and rest to be ready for his next game. You don't want to risk injury. You don't want to throw him too early because you're thinking about postseason as well, and Owen's obviously a big part of that. I just thought it was Tyrell that was interesting to bring him in. Yes, was it a batter too late? Maybe. I would have brought him in a couple of batters before that because JJ was just struggling with the strike zone. But Tyrell comes in and gives up no runs, 1 hit, 2 strikeouts in 2/3 of an inning. So that was a real bummer, but unfortunately now that hurts K-State because if you look at the recent bracketology, it's kind of in 2 areas. K-State is not quite on the bubble. But where I'm at right now with K-State and their shot at the NCAA tournament, they're for sure in right now. But I worry, worst case scenario is K-State losing 2 games. If they were to lose a couple of games, KU and whoever else it would be in that, let's see, they would be the 9 o'clock game on Wednesday. And they would play the loser of TCU and West Virginia. And TCU took 2 out of 3 against K-State earlier this year. You lose those 2 games, what kind of RPI hit does that take? Not quite sure yet, but you don't want to leave it up to the committee. The other microcosm, and this is where K-State has not helped themselves since we flipped the calendar to April. And this is what I really worry about in postseason play for K-State, and that's the offense. And unfortunately, the other microcosm is Chuck Ingram. Chuck was going to come in this season, be top third of the lineup, be one of your best hitters, certainly one of your best home run hitters, which he still leads the team with 9. But this is a microcosm of the offense in the last 26 games. Chuck Ingram in the first 27 games when K-State was 18-8 out of the first 27 games, he was hitting exactly 400. Exactly 400. Since then, in the last 26 games, 16 for 100, batting 160. And
not going to cut it.
And it's not just him, but it's more than just, a couple of bad outings. We're talking about a run of 26 games now where it just hasn't really come through. And that, unfortunately, is just the offense as a whole. Where earlier in the year, as a team, they were batting .330, one of the best offensive threats in the conference. Competition gets harder in April and May. You're facing way tougher teams. K-State hasn't faced a Big 12 conference. They faced the toughest Big 12 slate than anybody else. They've had one of the toughest schedules in the country. The offense just, unfortunately, just had a tough time with keeping up. Strikeouts are up. Home runs are way down. Their power hitting is way down. And that's honestly where I fear when it comes to K-State's chances of making a run this year in the Big 12 tournament and doing any sort of damage in the regional. Because I still think they're going to get there. And there's a couple of reasons. Even if they go 0 for 2, it's kind of like a couple of years ago when K-State volleyball didn't get. I felt like they threw a bone to Susie Fritz because they were right there on the edge, and they did K-State a solid even though I didn't feel like they should have been in that year. K-State baseball should have got in last year, and they got hosed. This year, it feels like for the last month and a half, they've been kind of playing themselves out of a regional. But does the committee throw them a bone this year? I think it's honestly a possibility. It helps when you have somebody from K-State that's now on the selection committee.
Yep.
And K-State has a bit of an upper hand there because now K-State has a voice in the room that's been to every home game, is going to be traveling with K-State for this regional. That's Casey Scott. But Casey Scott knows college baseball. I think that's a help, but K-State's not in a spot where they were last year yet. They're not quite like, when you look at the bubble, you have the last 4 in, right? K-State, to me, is not a last 4 in situation, but it's like that last 8. Because right now, K-State's a 3 seed. They're not going to leave that 3 seed position, most likely, unless they go on this crazy run. But I don't see that happening. K-State has the same issues they've had the last 3 years, which is just probably not enough pitching. But they've still made a run every year despite that issue. History says that K-State has some luck on their side when it comes to the Big 12 tournament. It'll be interesting to see how it works out with the way they're going to probably have to pitch tomorrow. And it's going to be pitcher by committee, most likely. It's going to be a staff day for the Batcats. But I want to get his second opinion on K-State's postseason hopes, where they're at this point in the season. And when we come back, I want to speak with Brian Smoller, who's going to be on the call this weekend from the K-State Sports Network from Learfield, and, of course, does so much for K-State athletics when it comes to broadcasting, doing games on ESPN+, and a former host of this show, of course. Brian Smoller will join us from Arlington next. Like AJ mentioned during the update there, 9 Wildcats on the All-Big 12 Baseball Awards. Brady Day, the only first-teamer, a couple of second-teamers in Culpeper and Neighbors. Honorable mention, Borma, English, Jones, Pelletier, Wentworth, Blake Dean lands on the freshman team. Congratulations to those 9 Cats. Finishing in 6th place in the Big 12. I think they were picked to finish 5th, if I remember correctly. They'll be in the first game of the Big 12 tournament tomorrow, 9 a.m. against KU. Pregame at 8:30. Cats won 2 out of 3 against KU. Earlier this year. Well, now we go down to Arlington, Texas, and Globe Life Field as we now speak with Brian Smoller from K-State. He'll be on the broadcast for every game the rest of the way for the Batcats here on KMAN. And as we get you set for K-State KU tomorrow morning. Brian, really appreciate your time. I know you guys left yesterday. Did you get there at a decent time last night?
We did. We left about noon yesterday, so we got here about 8 o'clock, a little after 8. Stopped for 45 minutes in Norman to eat, but beyond that, it was pretty easy. We took 2 buses. One just so the team had plenty of room, and then we brought a lot of personnel with us, for like video and photo and tickets and promotions and all that stuff.
So is the team hotel in close proximity to the stadium and Texas Live and all that?
So there's 2. They're actually building a second Lowe's. You know what Lowe's hotels are? The LOEW. There's one in Kansas City as well, but there's a Lowe's hotel, which is kind of a really nice hotel. It's like right next door to the ball field, and they're building one right next to it as well. And that's kind of where most of the teams are staying. And then us and I think like Tech are staying over at the Sheraton, which is just on the other side of the old Ranger Stadium.
Well, let's talk about what just came out just a few moments ago as we record this, and that is the All Big 12 Awards coming out. And I'm sure you've seen it by now that Brady Day gets first team, second name is Culpeper and Neighbors. You got 5 players on honorable mention, Blake Dean on the all freshman team. What was your reaction to that? I was hoping Jackson Wentworth would get something a little bit better than honorable mention, but do you have many arguments about this year's list?
Not really. Like you, I think Jackson Wentworth probably deserved better, but, his move from the bullpen to the starting rotation probably cost him a chance at that just because of the depth elsewhere on the pitching staff. And some of his numbers as he became a starter weren't as great, even though his last start was phenomenal. But overall, you tied a school record for the most all Big 12 honors. I think that in some ways speaks to what we already knew about this team, and that is it's one of the most talented K-State rosters they've had in some time, which is why they have high hopes that this stop in Arlington this week is not their final stop.
If there was a team award for boy, that guy really impressed me this season award, would you give that to Jackson Wentworth?
Certainly. I think based on what you saw last year, you'd almost have to go that way. And nothing against him, coming off Tommy John surgery, most pitching coaches and players will tell you that even the year out, you still don't quite have the sensation in your fingers to be able to manipulate the ball or control the ball the way you want and get the spin that you want. And so it's maybe the year after that you fully are recovered and have the mental confidence to throw those pitches and not worry about your arm. And I think that was the case with Jackson Wentworth. I'll go all the way back to the fall. Pete Hughes was telling everybody he could see that Jackson Wentworth was his pick to click and was going to have a breakout season. And a lot of us were like, all right, we'll see. We'll wait and see. It was a rough year for him last year. But, boy, from the word go, he has been electric. And I think, he's an honorable mention guy, but as a draft-eligible sophomore, every Major League scout that we have visited with, off the record, on the record, whatever, has said he is a second-round pick. And I think he's done nothing to dissuade those projections. I think he and Tyson Neighbors both are going to end up going in the second round of the Major League Draft this summer.
Speaking of that, you actually took my next question, but I'll keep it going with Brady Day. Have you seen his name move up or down the boards at all than what he was drafted last year?
Yeah, I think the consensus is that he'll be a top 10 round pick. I could see him getting up as 8th. Part of that is the way the Major League Baseball works in a draft. They have a certain allotment financially to get money slotted to certain players in the top 10 rounds. So let's say, just pick a number, right? Let's say it's $10 million for your top 10 round picks. It's not that, but let's just say it is. Well, most of that's going to go to your first and second round picks. And if you want to try and outbid people to make sure that you get a guy signed, it means that by the time you get to your 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th round guys, you're probably not going to have as much money. So for Brady Day, I don't know what he was offered last year as a 12th round pick, but my guess will be that he will get around the same amount of money, even though he'll be a top 10 round pick, just because of the way baseball is shaped up. But for him, he absolutely improved his draft stock. I think he did nothing to lower his chances. He's had another great season. He's well deserving of being first team All Big 12. I don't think there's a better second baseman in the Big 12 ahead of him. I think he would have been first team last year if J.J. Weatherholt wasn't playing second base. But J.J. Weatherholt for West Virginia moves to shortstop, and now that becomes a pretty deep position when you look through the Big 12.
Brian Smoller is our guest. He'll be calling the action here on K-Man and from the K-State Sports Network in Arlington for the Big 12 Championships. This week in Arlington, Texas from Globe Life Field, the Cats will play in the first game at 9 a.m. tomorrow against KU. Brian, you've watched K-State baseball in person more than anybody else this year that's outside of the team. Is at the end of March. K-State's, the bats were doing a really solid job, one of the best statistically in the Big 12, and pitching has kind of been at the same spot all year long. But after that Texas series and you get into April, then it just kind of became a bumpy road where K-State started to struggle offensively and it was harder to win on the road and win Big 12 games. How would you describe what you've seen the last month and a half about how K-State got to where they are now?
Well, I think the shortest way I can say it, and then I'll kind of get into it more, is the month of April is what's going to get K-State into the NCAA tournament because of what they played in that schedule. But the month of April is also what zapped the K-State offense. And you play that many road games against that many good teams, you realize K-State played only 4 home games over a stretch of about 36 days. From March 31st to May 3rd, they played exactly 4 home games. That's the fewest home games in the nation of any team. It's the most road games during that stretch, which was 13 road games. 12 of them were against top 40 teams in the RPI. That's the most opponents played against teams, the top 40 in the RPI of anybody in that stretch. And that 12, that number 12 of 12 top 40 opponents on the road, almost as many as most Power 5 teams played on the road, period, during their entire of the season. So you play that many good teams, yes, you get a lot of experience playing those guys, and you understand what great pitching's all about, but it can be difficult to try and continue to be in a good frame of mind and be confident at the plate and feel like you're getting better and doing well. You can't practice hardly at all because you're always on the road and traveling, and I think that's what did it in K-State. But you look at their average opponent RPI in the Big 12 of 55. That's the strongest schedule of anybody in the conference. Their average road opponents in Big 12 play at 48 RPI is the second toughest conference. And then the teams they avoided, they missed the last two teams in the Big 12 in Baylor and Texas Tech. They were the only school that ended up with only Oklahoma State, who missed Baylor and Kansas, ended up with missing two teams that were worse than the teams that K-State met as far as RPI. So that doesn't, you don't get those soft weekends right in the middle of the conference schedule. I mean, the Wildcats only played one out of the bottom four in the Big 12 until the final week of the season. It's different for everybody else, and it's almost like football. I'll compare it to that, right? If you're going to the Big 12, and all of a sudden you get 1 week where you're playing a very terrible from last year Colorado team, it's kind of a week off. You don't get that. K-State didn't get that this year on the baseball side. It was a big dog after big dog after big dog every week, and the toughest opponents were on the road. And I think it wore them down. So I'm curious to see how they bounce back. I think they were much better in the game on Saturday against BYU. They're in a good frame of mind here coming to Arlington. They've had a lot of success down here. I'm excited to see how they kind of clear the board, erase everything, start from zero, start anew here in the postseason.
Yeah, history tells you K-State, the last 3 years they made it to the semifinals of the Big 12 championship, so you feel like history's on K-State's side. But with the damp success of K-State into April and May, it kind of turned into the question, is K-State playing themselves out of the NCAA tournament? Well, right now, we know RPI is a major factor in who gets in, who doesn't get in. K-State right now would be a 3 seed, you would imagine, and their RPI is 41. What's your thoughts on K-State's chances as it stands right now? And do you see K-State needing to get a win or two to really make their case and really have a solid chance of getting into the field without issue?
I think they're in, but yes, would wins help down here? Certainly. I think if K-State goes 0-2, and does not win a game here in Arlington, or even, for that matter, go 1-2, I think you're putting it in the committee's hands at that point, and you're putting it in someone else's hands to get you in. That loss to BYU was not good. That's really the first bad loss that K-State's absorbed since February. Everything else has been acceptable losses, understandable losses, all that sort of thing. That was the first bad loss, and the way it happened, you're one strike away from winning the game and getting a sweep, turn around and lose 12-8. It was stunning to see that loss. But that dropped K-State, as you said, to 41. So going from the third best RPI in the league to number 6, now you have a bunch of teams that are all kind of the same resume. After the top 4 in the conference, the Oklahoma State, Texas, West Virginia block of the top 4. Those guys are in safe. Top 2, Oklahoma State will likely be hosting. Oklahoma's got an outside shot of making a run of a top 8 national seed. Then you get to that next group of teams, and it's going to be K-State, along with Kansas, Cincinnati, TCU, UCF. And of that group, Kansas is probably on the outside. They would have to probably get to the finals of this tournament here down in Arlington for them to have a shot. Cincinnati, probably the next weakest case. And then probably TCU, just because of their road record, which is just abysmally bad, would have a tough time. So I think at that point, if you're going in reverse order, I think K-State has the strongest case of that group of teams to be the 5th team selected for the Big 12. And history has told us that the Big 12 gets around 6 on average into the postseason. This year is a year where they could get 8 because you have some that are so tightly grouped together, as long as there's no upsets elsewhere in those group of 5 or smaller conferences and as they progress through their conference tournament week. So are they safely in? Probably not as safe as they would have been had they won the BYU game. I think at that point it's a lock. There's no doubt about it. Now there's a little bit of a question there that, well, they could erase some of that with a win against Kansas tomorrow and then a good performance, maybe another win this week here in Arlington, they would lock it up for sure and make sure that there's no doubt.
All right, Brian, to wrap up, it is a 9 a.m. first pitch with pregame at 8:30 here on K-Man from the K-State Sports Network. I mean, I would say 9 a.m. is way too early for baseball, but are you a morning guy? You feel like this is perfect and you got the rest of the day to watch some baseball?
I am not a morning person. I think anybody that worked with me when I used to work at K-Man Radio back in the day when I had to do the morning show will be very quick to second that and say that I was not a morning person at all. That was one of the worst things I ever had to do was do the morning show there. Rich Wortell, who was the GM at the time, just crushed me nonstop about not being chipper enough in the morning as I worked with Dave Lewis and the other Kathy Dawes. And I was like, I can't do it at 5 in the morning. I can't be up this early. So I am not a morning person. However, the Wildcats historically have played well in that 9 a.m. game. They've been in it a lot here in Arlington or in Oklahoma City as part of the Big 12 tournament. So I'm going to lean on that they themselves are in good shape, and myself and Matt Walters, who are not morning people, will somehow survive.
Yeah, I am not a morning person either, just like you. So, but I will be up and at 'em bright and early for an 8:30 pregame. I'm going to listen to the broadcast and listen to the Cats beat KU for the third time this year. All right, Brian, appreciate your time. Thank you.
No problem. Sounds good, Mitch.
Big thank you to Brian Smoller for joining us here on the Game Talk some Bad Cats. And going back to the morning thing, absolutely not a morning person. Been filling in for Troy. And I was on the morning show for, 7 years, something like that. And then he comes in, he takes over for a couple of years, and now I help out whenever I can when he's gone. Well, he's been gone now for 2 weeks. You don't want to know how many hours I've been working to fill in for Troy, but I would do it in a heartbeat to help him out.
You couldn't tell the difference, though, because you've been tremendous on the morning show.
You're
fantastic on the morning show.
I certainly haven't been chipper. That's a good word that Brian used. Chipper is not the word I would describe. I've been here exactly here at the station for now exactly 12 hours because I got here at 12:45 and it's 4:45 and it's now 4:45. Other than a 30-minute break, but I knew what I was getting into when Troy is leaving, so he'll just owe me. No, he won't owe me anything. It's cool. All right. When we come back, we still in hour number 2, by the way. We have another former host of this show coming on. John Kurtz will join us at 5:10. Stump the Shaw at 5:25. When we come back, Big 12 Eats is back for the Big 12 baseball tournament. I think K-State is the best item. We'll talk about that next. The game continues. Mitch Fortner, AJ Shaw with you. Hour number 2, we're kicking things off with former host of this show, John Kurtz. He'll come on to talk about House versus NCAA. I needed somebody way nerdier than I am about this stuff to give us the details about what this is, because this could be a major change into how college athletics is governed. And a decision could be this week. So we'll get those details from John. I mean, if you need somebody to break down a play for you, I mean, I'm a guy. Like on the field stuff, on the court, I'm your guy. I mean, Mel Kiper 1, Stuart Scott 2, Mitch Fortner 27. But I need John to I need that YouTube channel John to bring me the deets. And he'll teach us all about what's going on about the NCAA and all this lawsuit stuff, collective bargaining, revenue sharing. It's a lot of words that I don't use every day. Stump the Shaw coming up at 5:25. I've once again come up with questions to see if we can stump AJ Shaw because this guy is a brainiac. Speaking of nerds, no, I mean that in all positivity because his knowledge of sports is incredible. So we're going to test that once again coming up in hour number 2.
I don't take that personally. You call me a nerd. I am kind of a nerd. I mean, I kind of look like a nerd too.
I'm more of a dork than a nerd.
Yeah.
Being a nerd takes some book smarts, and that just wasn't me. I'm a street smarts guy. So where I did my best learning there. All right. Big 12 Eats is one of my favorite things that the Big 12 has come up with during the Brett Yormark era. Big 12 Eats is when you have the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City or the Big 12 baseball championships in Arlington, Texas, and where you can go up to the menu or go up to the concession stands, and the menu has items for specific teams. In case I remember, had the the Big 12 tournament this past year. I think it was the fried PB&J.
Yeah, and I know Mason did a video on it. a review on it.
Which was basically, it was a fried Uncrustable.
Yeah.
It was pretty much what it is. But you got two. Not bad. The Big 12 realized last year, I think it was Brett Yormark's first Big 12 baseball tournament, and realized when you put all this money into all these different food items, and it's not going to exactly be a big crowd or anything at this tournament, don't need to go all out. So everybody just has their own hot dog. It's nothing too crazy. Really, the difference is all the toppings you can get. Like, for instance, you can imagine what they did with Cincinnati. It's a Texas chili footlong topped with famous Skyline-style chili. They said style chili, so it's not Skyline chili, but it's something that looks like Skyline chili. So it's out of a can with some shredded cheese. No spaghetti. How do you not put spaghetti on the Bearcat dog?
Yeah, I'm kind of glad they didn't do that.
I think they should have. If you're going to go Cincinnati, you go Cincinnati. Don't half-ass it. You go Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Where else? Well, let's just go ahead and get to the Cats, because everybody's hot dogs are like chili this, cheese that, onion this, mustard that, KU is a foot long topped with sweet, cheesy corn. Jesus, that's bad. Okay, what's worse, AJ? Let me finish the bio real quick here. So the caption is sweet, cheesy corn and smoked brisket. Okay, better there. With some barbecue sauce at one of the concession stands. So would you rather have corn on your hot dog, or would you rather have spaghetti?
Oh, why did you have to ask me that? Probably corn.
Nah, I think I'm going spaghetti.
Yeah.
Seems more like a wild card, but oddly, like, if it works for Skyline chili, what's throwing a hot dog in the equation? I don't think it makes it worse.
Well, it's better than putting grape jelly on the hot dog. I'm not gonna get us kicked
Grape
off the air for this
jelly?
because I'm mad about it. I'm talking about the first hot dog from the Big 12 tournament from last year for basketball that we had for K-State.
Oh,
I'm still mad
I
about
thought it was
that.
bacon wrapped.
I swear there was grape jelly on it.
I don't remember that.
I'm still mad about that one.
Well, anyway, K-State's dog, Wildcat Dog, is a Texas chili footlong. By the way, so it's a company out of Fort Worth that is providing these hot dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I did a quick Google Maps of this Texas chili footlong. This place is sketchy.
Yeah.
It's in an alley right next to a junkyard, and it's like a building with barred up windows. Like, I'm not sure about this hot dog place, but maybe there's a real bangers. So K-State's hot dog is on it is pulled pork topped with crispy fried onions and Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. I think that sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
I would add
definitely.
cheese. I would add cheese, but it sounds really good.
I think it does sound good, yeah.
Like, I'd make one. I mean, it already has a lot of ingredients, the chili and or not chili, but I mean, pulled pork on a hot dog. I mean, comes from the same, well, however you make a hot dog is questionable already, but you add the pulled pork, it's not going to be worse. It's going to be way better with the barbecue sauce, the fried onions. Absolutely. Absolutely, that sounds really good. I think I'm not going to go over everybody's, obviously, as we're coming up on a break here to finish up the hour, but I think K-State's has the best one. Do you know what the prices are for these hot dogs?
I'm going to take one guess for ours. 25? $25.
That's way too high, but it's still high. It's $17
Okay.
for a foot-long hot dog. I don't think I'd ever pay. Oh, well, here's Cheap Mitch.
Yeah.
Showing up once again, and that is would I pay $17 for? I mean, maybe one time, sure. If I'm going to buy a $15 beer, I can buy a $17 foot-long chili dog. The Mountaineers, I think, got the shaft here because West Virginia, their hot dog's not even a foot long, and it's wrapped up. It's basically a pig in a blanket, but it's not even a foot long, and you're still paying $17 for it. They got that because nobody from West Virginia is going to travel for this thing. Pistol Pete dog. What do we have here? Oh, boy. Okay. A layer of cream cheese and then topped with Texas chili, shredded cheese, crushed Lay's chips. Not bad. Not bad. K-State's still the best, though. Go look at the full list. Big 12 Eats on Twitter. Just search for it. You'll find it. K-State has the best. Best-looking one for sure. Hour 2 of the game coming up. We're going to have Stump the Shaw. John Kurtz will join us to kick off hour number 2 coming up next.